Hey friends, welcome back to the cabin.
And today, we're doing a homestead update.
Well, it's growing season and we got our planting done and there's some things coming up, but we've probably struggling with a few things.
So how's the garden?
Well, we've got some successes and some failures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got some that's not failures, but could sure use a little help.
Yeah, it's a struggle with a lot of things right now. And I'm sure everybody all over the country is probably dealing with their own a little bit like this.
The corn's going good.
Yeah, the corn's doing good. We actually had given that garden patch a break, and so we replanted it this year, and the corn is doing phenomenal, but the purple hull peas are not doing anything. They come up and they quit.
Yep, they quit. That and the zippers.
The zippers are doing, they're not doing anything.
The beans are doing pretty good. They're coming along, not setting any records, but they're coming along.
The green beans, they're doing those are contenders. This is my first year for contenders. I usually do plant the Blue Lake bush, but this is my first year for contenders. I've heard a lot of good things about contenders, and they're doing good when other things aren't. So far, I'm pleased with those.
So that's the row garden. We expect about anything out of the row garden. How about the raised beds? How are the raised beds?
The raised beds are doing phenomenal. They are doing
the most part.
For the most part. Well, let's see. The tomatoes, and we've kind of got a contest going between the two of us, don't we?
Yeah. Even the ones in the buckets, the ones in the raised beds have been doing real good. And the ones in the bucket, they was kind of dragging around, but they're coming along. They're coming along now, sure.
Well, we did, in the last garden video, we talked about buying the bag stuff to kind of compensate for shortages.
Didn't we, though? We was bragging on that stuff, and it turned out.
It's terrible. It is not the quality that it has been in the past. Right. And it's also a little different brand than what we've bought in the past, and it really shows. So
there's an awful lot of wood chips in it.
Yeah, there's more. It's supposed to be composted, cow manure, right?
And wood chips.
And wood chips, but it's mostly wood.
Yeah, it's got a lot of wood in it.
And the thing about those is it's most likely, because it comes from this area, it's most likely from the pine timber industry, and it's going to be mostly pine, and that's going to be...
It will eventually be good, but it's going to take it a while. It's going to have to compost, I guess.
It's going to take it a while. It probably raised the acidity of the soil around it because of the pine bark and the pine in it. So
we've got
epic failure.
2 squash and 2 zucchini in the raised bed. They're doing great.
They're doing great.
And we got 2 squash and 2 zucchini in buckets. Big tubs, and they're not doing that.
One is.
Yeah.
One is. 3 of them
are
dying. I mean, they're just not doing anything, and we've tried to help them along, and they're not doing anything. So, the asparagus is about to finish up. It's getting close to June. It did really good, really, really good. It put on real good. This is the year 3 for it. Yep. So it did really good.
And last year we had phenomenal success with peppers in buckets. So we put them in buckets. I think it's
the soil that we bought. It's not good. It's not good at all. So we're probably going to replant those. We know we're going to replant peas, and zippers and purple hulls. But what else in the raised beds? Now we've got. My carrots. My carrots kind of rocked along all winter long and didn't do anything. But in that terrible freeze, they survived. And then when spring came along, I left them because they were green, but they were very, very small. But when spring came, they just blossomed grew, not blossomed, not flowered. They just grew, and we harvested some beautiful carrots.
Sure did.
But I left 2 stalks, and they are about to go to seed because I want to save the seed because that's a heritage carrot, but I don't remember the name of it. But I know it is because I got it from Baker Creek.
How about the okra?
The okra is growing pretty good, but it's not as good as it should be. But there's a couple of factors we'll talk about in a minute that's affecting it. One we know, and it's going to need a little bit.
We got one raised bed out there. Got some of the okra out in the row garden. Got one raised bed out there that we know for a fact is the best, probably best raised bed we got, because that used to be the compost pile.
It was the compost pile.
There's nothing in that but compost, you know, old compost.
Yeah,
so that should be the best
good.
bed.
But one thing about the compost that we composted the first time, that was straight cow manure. Maybe a few vegetable scraps, but it by far the majority was cow manure, which is probably led it to be a little bit unbalanced, more nitrogen and less of the other. So this time we're trying to make sure that we add a little more brown, not just the green. And I talk about the brown and the green in another video, the worm bin video. But so the balance is probably off in that a little bit. But it's not a problem. It will be able to help it along through the summer, I think, and the okra. So. And
we got comfrey everywhere.
Oh, the comfrey's doing wonderful.
Yeah, it's doing great.
Yeah, I've been sharing some of it too. It's been doing good.
We've got, what else is doing good out there?
Well, now we've got, we talked about our tomatoes, and we talked about kind of a competition going between the two.
Between the Marians and the Romas.
The Marians and the Romas. Jerry's in charge of the Marians. I've got the Romas in the bed, and so, you know, I'm all about natural and traditional. Jerry's he's a little bit, I'll throw some fertilizer to it. So he's doing Miracle Grow on his. And I'm doing worm casting tea and alfalfa tea, and I will talk about that in a future video. But we're seeing which one's doing better, and they are neck and neck right now, aren't they? They're both doing really well. My worm casting tea, and I've even added some worm castings into the bed and everything, and they're running about the same right now. So we'll see when it's all said and done, you know. But what else have we got? We've got
you got the beans.
Roma green beans. Got Roma tomatoes and Roma green beans. So this is my first year for the Roma green beans. They're a flat green bean, and it's a pole bean, and I would say it was similar to the Kentucky Wonders that we know. So we're going to try that and see how they're doing good.
Going back in the back, what else we got back there?
We've got some ginger that I started. We've got a little pan of strawberries that are just going crazy. What else have we got? A few herbs. I've got some sage planted. Had to replant a couple of those, and some basil. But the plantain, and I'm not going to talk about it very much because that's the next video, Lord willing. The plantain just is a win. It is a win. It is a success. It is doing wonderful. So, but I'm not going to, that's a spoiler alert. I'm not going to tell you too much about it because that'll be the next video about how I did that, because it failed last year completely. Bomb. Nothing. And what we did different this year, and it is just thriving. So
sure is.
Yeah, it is. And of course the comfrey bed over there is really good. Oh, let me talk about that a second.
Go right ahead.
Okay. The comfrey bed over there, where my herb garden is, last year, because it's a deep bed, this is my theory, it got a fungus, a root rot in it. And it doesn't get full sun all day. It gets a break in the middle of the day, so it's not in the heat completely or the full sun.
So what did you do about that?
Well, last year I ended up putting a weak hydrogen peroxide mixture on there just to save my plants. So when it started coming in this year, I knew that I was going to, I had the potential for that to happen again. So I added worm castings to the soil. That was pure compost, and worm castings are an antifungal. And so far, it is thriving. It is thriving. No signs of any root rot or fungus in there at all. So
I've been stealing the comfrey, putting it in the ground out there.
Yeah, that works.
The soil.
That works good. We share it with Lily a little bit, and we put it in. It's called instant compost. You can cut it and add it to your dirt, add it to your soil. We don't have dirt. Well, maybe back here we do, but in our raised beds.
What do we need to straighten all this out? What is the problem? Why are we having the trouble that we are having on the things we're having trouble with?
Well, right now, and like I said before, everybody's affected by this, the cool weather. The cool weather.
That's crazy.
Peas, purple hulls, zippers, they are a heat-loving plant, and okra. They love it. The hotter, the better, and we're just not having any heat at all.
It's supposed to be in the 40s tonight.
48. and this is Mississippi, and mid-May, I have seen it approaching 95.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I can remember the first week of June being 100.
We've got to average 85 or better to do anything on the grass. We're having a problem with grass.
Yeah. We're
still having to buy hay.
Well, Bahia, which is a primary pasture grass here, it doesn't germinate and grow until you have a significant amount of 85-degree temperatures, and we haven't had that yet. Haven't had it yet. So now we have no grass.
Yeah. Well, we just load up and go get another big round bale. That'll take care of the cow. Let her eat on hay. All waiting on gas.
Oh, yeah, that's another story.
Huh?
I'd love to. But I can't. I don't have anything to pull it with.
Oh.
That's a story right there in itself.
Where's your truck?
My truck is in the shop at the dealership. No, it's of no fault of anybody's, really. It had a little problem, not a major problem, just a minor problem, real minor problem, and an engine light stayed on.
The truck's got less than 30,000 miles.
Less than 30,000 miles on it. You've seen it in other videos. You've seen us pull trailers and campers and stuff with it. It's a 2018, and took it in, and it's been there 3 weeks now.
About 3.5.
About 3.5, soon be 4 weeks, and it's sitting on the back lot, waiting on a part. Why can't we get a part for it?
Well,
why can't they get a part for it?
The COVID had everything shut down for a while, and they're just running behind.
Well, I think it's twofold. The COVID, the workforce was reduced,
yep.
So part manufacturing slowed down, and now they're saying it is a labor shortage.
Mm-hmm.
A labor shortage. So now that we're coming out of all of that, and there's factories and businesses needing workers, they're having a labor shortage. So, and my truck, even though it was kind of a minor deal, I guess it's electronic. Mm-hmm. It's a minor deal. They've advised me not to drive it until they replace that little bitty part. And so there it's it. So I can't pull a trailer, can't go get a round bale of hay.
So we just have to buy a square bale.
We have to buy, oh boy, and for what? I buy 5 square bales.
You can buy a round bale.
I can buy a round bale. And so, and that's another thing too that we're going to be faced with, because pretty soon they should be having their first cutting of hay, and they're not going to have a first cutting of hay. I don't know, or they'll have a first cutting, but it's going to be a lot later, and they may not get subsequent cuttings if it doesn't grow any better.
The last year or so, we've run into all kinds of little problems.
Yeah.
Things have changed that.
Yeah. We're still blessed, though, right?
Yeah.
Mighty, mighty blessed. My pantry's full.
Well, I guess being prepared pays off, huh?
It did. It did. It paid off a lot. Now, we found some gaps in our preparations back when we had the cold. We was prepared for cold, but not that cold. And
it was fun.
We really fared fine. And I don't mean to make light of that, because so many suffered. Mm-hmm. But we really fared very, very well. It was a lot of work, but we didn't really suffer like so many others did, because we were well prepared, except for our water. Now, we did prepare with water, and where the water was, we never imagined it would freeze.
Well, we started off into that deal with plenty of water.
But it froze.
We wound up with plenty of ice.
Yeah, we had plenty of ice. It froze in a building.
Well, we never did run short or even get close to being out of what we did have.
No, we didn't. We still had several which is another thing. When you prepare, when you prep, don't rely on one thing. You need to have some alternatives, some backups. And
well,
we have
I've
a few other
got several
things.
drums and totes and stuff with water in them that we have stored around here. And we also had probably 20 of those cases of bottled water.
Yeah.
And we did think to bring that inside
Brought that
before
in
it
the
froze.
house.
So we had
So
that
we
for
had
cooking and drinking and
Cooking, drinking, and coffee.
and coffee. Yeah.
We had, but we really did. The animals fared well. The barn was more than adequate to take care of them, and so we fared well in that.
Well, you made a little trip here the other day, didn't you?
I sure did.
Where'd you go?
I went to one of my favorite places in all the world.
Well, tell us about
I
it.
went to Amish country, but I didn't go to Pennsylvania or Ohio.
Went North Mississippi.
North
didn't you?
Mississippi, north.
Well, now we had made a trip up there a week or two before that.
Yeah.
We go up there to get bees, and we
Right.
had wanted to set up another hive of
Right,
bees.
and there's a story behind that. We'll go or to that too, and we might cover
They
that in a
don't.
minute.
We took our hive up there and left it, and then
brood
when they get
box.
it ready, they don't call you and tell you it's ready. They mail you a
They
letter.
mail you a letter. They mail you a letter, and the sweet little family that we get our bees from, they're precious. They're up in around Pontotoc, Mississippi. There is an Amish community outside of the town of Pontotoc. It's out in another little community. And it's just a precious little Amish community, and I could just live there. I really could. It put me further away from my grandchildren, but I just, that's one of the joys of my life is to go up there. They are precious, precious people.
Yeah, when they write you and tell you to come get them, I had they wrote us and told us to be up there on Saturday the 8th, and I had an appointment, had plans to be in Jackson on the 8th and
Out
the
of
9th.
town, had to be.
So I had to take care of that. So you had to go by yourself.
Went by myself, me and Boo. We went right up there and made it back fine and got the hive set up fine and
All
and
by
it was
yourself.
All by myself. Yeah, I can do it. I can do what I need to do to take care of things. So when I do get to go to Amish country, and what was fun was that I got to go by myself. Because I might go to a few more of the houses.
You might spend a little
more
money.
money, yeah.
Tell you.
Well, each family has a trade, and they also have usually they have a store, out close to their house, and where they sell goods or whatever. Some of them it's services. They have a few farriers up there that shoe horses and mules, and do leather work and stuff like that. But I went to
Basket weaving, furniture making.
furniture
they do all
making,
kinds of stuff.
but there was one particular one that I wanted to go to. That really, when we went, wasn't the right time. But it was one of them has greenhouses, and they sell vegetable plants. And so when I was by myself, bees in the back and all, I stopped there and bought some vegetables, some cucumbers, and some eggplants. And I could have bought the whole wagon load, but I didn't have a place to put it. But
What they'll do, speaking of the bees, what they'll do is before we take the bees away from there, they'll close the hive off. Where
yeah,
the
it's
bees can't
completely
get 'em.
secure.
And then
yeah.
whenever we get home, then we just take the cover off
Right.
to where they
right.
can go and come.
Yeah, the bees are completely enclosed and they can't get out, but they can get ventilation. It's still ventilated, but they can't get out. So the bees were fine, and I stopped and bought some vegetables. And I'd never been to that little family's home, so I enjoyed that. And then we bought a cutting board at one of the other ones before. And baskets and wonderful candy. Whoo! Peanut brittle.
Yeah, now that was good. I can do without the basket, but a cup of coffee and some of that candy,
Yeah,
that was good.
that was good.
That was
So-
good for the trip.
It is just a wonderful experience. So, and they're about 2.5 hours north of here. So
Yeah.
it's a day trip. It's a good day trip. Yeah. So,
It's a lot of fun.
yeah.
The bees is just part of being prepared. That's part of our being prepared.
Yeah. They give back several ways. They produce honey, of course, for the homestead, and they
What else?
also pollinate.
Good for the garden.
Good for the garden. Pollinators.
Yeah.
And that's just one tiny aspect of our being prepared. Preparation is a journey, not a destination. It's something that needs to be an ongoing thing in your life, a mindset.
We don't know what the future holds.
No, we don't.
We've had a lot of things. I mean, we wasn't planning on the pandemic, on the COVID.
No.
And that was just something that,
And
set everybody behind.
And there's domino effects that we're still feeling now with my truck, as an example. Right. I mean, that's been over a year ago that started, and it's still, people are still affected. But we know who holds the future. And
we may not know the future, but we know who holds
the future. And we know that God didn't wake up and say, uh-oh, he's not surprised. It's all in his plan. So
we may be surprised, but he's not.
He's not. No. And he says he has plans for us. He knows his plans for us. So.
But he wants us to be about our business, trying to take care of ourselves.
Sure. He expects us to use our God-given gifts to take care of ourselves and our families and those that are less able and less fortunate. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Give back.
When you are blessed with what you need and there are those that are not, then you're to share.
Exactly.
You share.
Yep, that's the tithing principle. Yep. In the midst of everything that's going on around us, I want to remind you of this. Don't ever forget that your Heavenly Father loves you. And we'll see you
on the next video.
God bless.